Alrighty, so a little bit of a late edition of MLS review for match week number 21 because I did do a bit of a ground hop and I didn't get home until just an hour ago, and then I still have to put the notes on the board. But anyhow, in terms of looking at these games for match week number 21, well, there were definitely some surprises in some of these games. Some very unexpected result that happened in some of these games. But the first one we're gonna go is actually a 0-0 draw between Charlotte versus Montreal. And as I said before, there's been some 0-0 draws that has been relatively boring, which I'll definitely get to one of those talking about tomorrow in part two of the review, looking at the last six games. But this was not one of them. I thought this was a relatively entertaining game, but unfortunately, this was a game where both goalkeeper and especially Jonathan Siwas from Montreal performed very well in this one. Now, early on, Capetti would pose it wide from close before Kalina would rob Ibrahim as he was in on goal. So I talked about Siwas having a good game. So was Kalina. Kalina was also on his game in this one too. Vargas then blasted high after a bad turnover from Montreal, and I thought both teams was getting some good chances after no shots were registered in the first 10 minutes of this game. Duke then hits one right to Kalina before Siwas denied Miram from close. Duke then pulls it wide from long range. I thought turnover has been an issue for both of these teams. I mean, both of these teams, they were being a little bit loose with possession, and there was some turnover that could have easily been capitalized by both of these teams. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now, in the second half, Corbo pulls it just wide on the free kick. It did not miss by much. But not much has happened in the second half, and there's also been a lot of fouls being called, and very stop and go. It was kind of a bit of a stop and go game with just no rhythm whatsoever. Though Siwas in the 65th minute would deny Shvedetsky after just another bad turnover from Montreal. And I just also kind of had a feeling that you wonder whoever's going to score here in this game, or whoever's going to score the first goal, it's going to come off of a turnover because again, there's so many bad turnovers that could have easily been punished by the opposition if their finishing was a little better. 04 then pulls it high from long range in the 72nd minute before Siwas would tip Vargas shot over, and then he denied Shredetsky on the header as Charlotte was pushing late for the winner. Question is, can they solve Siwas, who was definitely on his game up to this point? He was determined, along with Kalina, not allowing a single goal get past either of these goalkeeper net. Shvedetsky then pulls it wide from close, and then 04 would puts it over from the near post in the 90th minute, and the boos rain down at Bank of America Stadium at the full-time whistle. And I guess the boos is probably the fans being a little restless in terms of Charlotte getting a no draw and unable to put it in the back of net. I mean, I can understand people pay good money to see their team play and get goals. So if you don't score goals, yeah, they're not going to be a little bit happy about that. But obviously, I think a lot has to do with the fact that Charlotte just have not played well this season at home, and the fans are letting them hear it. And yeah, in the end, it was a no draw in this one. Shots in this one, 13 shots committed, 9 that Montreal has. 4 shots on goal for the 3 that Montreal has. 5 shots off target for the 7 that Charlotte has. 2 shots out blocked for the 1 that Montreal has. And possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that Montreal has in this game. And Montreal will take it. I mean, I know they could have won this game too if they themselves were a little bit more clinical, but knowing the fact that this is a team that don't do well on the road, they'll take any points that they can get, and they'll gladly take this point against Charlotte in this one. But that being said, moving on in the next match is Columbus and Nashville. So this kind of feel like it was the complete opposite of the matchup earlier, what we saw this season, where in the first meeting between both of these teams, it was Nashville, the one that looked like the better side. Well, besides maybe the first 2 minutes, when Columbus, of course, stunned that crowd at Geodis Park with Yeboah scoring an absolute golazo. But in this game, it was completely opposite, and just like the first match, it was the home team that had the upper hand in this game. Now, early on, Willis did deny Cucho from close before Farsi would puts it high from close as Columbus was on the front foot. They were pressing for the opener. Cucho just pulls it wide from close before Yoboa also did the same thing just a couple of minutes later. But you knew that pressure that Columbus was going to or the pressure that they pushed early on was going to pay off, and it did. In the 20th minute, it's Superman Christian Ramirez would score to give Columbus a 1-0 lead. And anytime when I see Christian Ramirez has scored this season for Columbus, It's bittersweet because, obviously Christian Ramirez, he's forever Loon's player. A lot. Us Minnesota United fans will always remember what the memories that Superman has made for this team. But at the same time, there's a reason why I say it's bittersweet because you know how the Loons are struggling in terms of scoring goal this season, and they don't have a legitimate number 9. Yeah, remember that guy that they decided to let go to LAFC and then eventually gone to Houston and then gone to Aberdeen and now gone to Columbus? Yeah, Minnesota would love to have that kind of player right now, wouldn't they? But in the 43rd minute, Lovitz would hit a one hopper right to Schulte. That was actually the second shot of the game for Nashville. I mean, it was all Columbus up to this point. And then Ramirez looked for his second goal, but he missed wide there in the 45th minute. And we do head to halftime with Columbus leading 1-0. Now in the second half, Mukhtar had a header that was tipped over by Schulte. It was another quiet game for Hani Mukhtar. I mean, he had a couple more chances in this one compared to the last one, but yeah, for a guy that has been red hot right now, these last two games, he's definitely not showed up. Though again, it was not much happening in the second half, which I fully favored Columbus because as long as they keep this tight, they can grind out this 1-0 win. Although that's not the message that Wilfred Nancy wants. He wants this team to continue to attack, and they did. Cucho would hit one right to Willis before Mukta would hit a volley that goes wide. Cucho then had a shot that was clear off the line, but it actually went to Parente, and his shot was also clear off the line. So yeah, Columbus, they are getting chances, but this is where it's interesting to a point where I gotta ask Columbus the same thing I asked about Montreal when they faced Nashville. Would this come back to haunt them? The fact that the Crew couldn't get that second killer goal because we know Nashville has that quality to get the equalizer and come back in games. Though Willis did deny Zarian from the free kick. It was a great save there from Joe Willis. And Lucas Zarian is very good on the free kick, and Willis did a great job denying him there. Cucho then tried a spectacular goal here, trying to do a scissor kick goal, but he hits it right to Willis. But then in the 5th minute stoppage time, Columbus put this game to bed. And it was actually an own goal score by Jack Mayer, but they wouldn't care because they were putting the pressure and trying to finish the game, and they did in the 5th minute stoppage time to make it 2-0, and that's also the final score of this one. As the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to just 7 that Nashville has, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that Columbus had, 4 shots off target for the 1 that Nashville had, 7 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Nashville has, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to the 48% possession that Nashville has. And for Columbus, again, their strong home form can continue. It was a big win in this one against a really good team in the East. But for Nashville, yeah, they kind of took a bit of a blip in these last two games. I mean, in back-to-back loss, it hasn't been a great week for Nashville on the road. Though the good news for Nashville is that Cincinnati also didn't get a win. In fact, speaking of Cincinnati, moving on in the next game. Now, I understand that Cincinnati was out with 5 starters and that they were kind of a little shorthanded coming into this game against DC, but this is still a Cincinnati team that have only lost one time, and you don't lose one time without having some good depth pieces, which I thought Cincinnati has had, but that was not the case in this one. In fact, DC, yeah, they kind of surprised them in a big way, especially in the first half, because 2 minutes in, Benteke would had a header that missed just wide before I thought DC was on the front foot. They were pushing for the early goal, and they do get it. In the 10th minute, it's Pedro Santos scoring his first goal of the season for DC. He scored here from Click and Benteke to give DC a 1-0 lead. And that one, yeah, Santano, he should have saved that one. I mean, it wasn't really hit very hardly from Pedro Santos, and Santano, again, just a late reaction to it. And I was wondering if he was actually shielded by anybody, and he wasn't. I mean, that was very uncharacteristic seeing a goalkeeper like Roman Salatano that has been excellent so far this season and have even gone whisper of potentially uh, playing for the U.S. men's national team. Yeah, this was a rough game uh, for him, and this won't be the only time he would have one that it was just not a good goal, and not one that he wants to remember that he conceded. But just 7 minutes later, DC would make it 2-0. It's Derek Williams that gets on the score sheet to make it 2-0, and then Durkin puts it high from long range in the 24th minute. It was all DC up to that point. And I also wrote, despite being shorthanded, it is very rare you see Cincinnati being this outplayed badly. In fact, I think the only time that they outplayed this badly was against St. Louis, which coincidentally they lost 5-1 in that game against St. St. Louis. But in the 30th minute, O'Brien puts it just wide from long range. But then the 43rd minute, DC made it 3-0. It's Christian DeHome gets on the score sheet here, but again, not a good goal. And one that Santano, think should easily save this. I mean, he just got 5 hole there in the near post. Like you if you're a goalkeeper, you always hate it that when you get 5 hole and have one that goes under your leg, but especially on the near post, I mean that's one that Celentano absolutely should be saving with the caliber of a goalkeeper that he is. So yeah, that of course made it 3-0. I mean DC wouldn't care if Celentano had a rare off game because they're now up 3-0 heading into halftime, and I had to double check to make sure the scoreline is correct because I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming with the way that DC is up 3-0 against the best team in the league. But in the second half, Barriel would puts it high from close range before Santana would deny Naha, but again he gave up a juicy rebound there, and he was very fortunate to cover this one again. You can see I feel like Santana was kind of rattled to this point. He knows that those 2 goals or 2 of the 3 goals that he conceded, he could have easily saved, and that's what happened when you're even the best goalkeeper. Sometimes when you, of course, give up some bad goals or early in the game, it stick to you, and I feel like you can clearly see Santana was losing confidence, and this is where I'm pretty sure DC realized that, and they decided to test Santana a couple more time with those long range efforts. So in the 65th minute, Barriel had a shot that was deflected away before Angulo, which struck the post from close range. So, Cincinnati, to their credit, they haven't give up. Though, again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that I think Cincinnati's finally realized that, yeah, they are the best team in the league, and they should not be 3-0 down, even if they're shorthanded. They were trying to get one back. Baji would head it wide from the corner, though in the 79th minute, they were down to 10 men, Cincinnati, as Ian Murphy would get his second yellow card of the game. That didn't really quite stop Cincinnati in their pursuit for one back, because after Click would hit one right to Salatown in the 80th minute, Acosta had a free kick that was denied by Miller. It was a good save there from Tyler Miller, and then Acosta missed wide from long range in the 89th minute. And yeah, in the end, DC was able to win 3-0 this one. I had a feeling they were kind of cruising in the second half to this 3-0 win, and just kind of allow Cincinnati to kind of maybe give them some hope, which sometimes could be a dangerous thing because we know Cincinnati has that ability to score quick goals, but they just couldn't find that finishing in this one. And the shots in this one, 17 shots apiece for both of these teams. Again, those shots kind of even out because Cincinnati had a lot of them in the second half, but only 2 of them was on target for Cincinnati compared to 7 that DC had. 5 shots off target for the 11 that Cincinnati has. 4 shots that was blocked for the 5 that DC had. And possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that DC had. Now, the good news for Cincinnati is the fact that Nashville, of course, lost in their matchup, so they didn't really lose ground in terms of the team that is chasing behind them. But obviously, this is definitely not one of the better performance for FC Cincinnati. But the good news is when they lost 5-1 against St. Louis, they quickly bounced back, and I'm assuming that's going to be the case for Pat Nolan. I mean, Pat Nolan probably is telling the guy that, hey, this is a game that it's bound to happen. Some of the best team in the league is going to have one of those games where not only nothing goes right, but it just goes spectacularly wrong. But it's all about how they bounce back, and Cincinnati has done a great job in terms of doing that this season, and I have no doubt they're going to do it again in these next couple of games. But that being said, moving on in the next match is New England and Toronto. So, one of the team that I haven't mentioned the fact that they're also catching up Cincinnati and Nashville is the New England Revolution. And again, this team is starting to get a little bit more healthier, especially on the attacking end. But this was a game where, yeah, Bruce Arena said that he was not happy with the way that they performed, and they were a little bit lucky that they got a win out of this one. And I absolutely agree with him. I mean, I think this was a game where, for TFC this season, I know the storyline could easily be, well, they went up in this game and then eventually blew a lead like they have done throughout the season. But one thing that did not happen for this TFC team throughout this season that actually happened in this one, they showed some fight back. And unfortunately, they just ran into Georgi Petrovic, who, again, Georgi Petrovic, depending on if he's going to be staying in till the end of the season, which I'm assuming that's the biggest priority for New England right now to keep him before the end of the season. He's probably going to win the goalkeeper of the year. Now, early on in the first half, as I mentioned, Toronto got a surprising lead. It's DeAndre Kerr scoring from Gutierrez and Insigne to give TFC a 1-0 lead, and it was great work up for TFC. And again, this is where, when you look at this team, they have so many good attacking talent. It's just about whether or not if they can figure it all out. Like if they can figure it all out, then it can work perfectly. And that was kind of one of those few times that it did. And yeah, TFC were leading 1-0. And then Petrovic would deny Insigne, but the ball actually did recycle to Bernardeschi, but he puts it high on the second attempt. It was a great start for Toronto, but here's the problem. We said this before with this team, and I think TFC fans have seen this story before where they get off to a good start, but they can't keep this intensity for 90 minutes. So the question is, can they keep this intensity for the full 90 minutes? Well, at least for the next 30 minutes, that doesn't seem like was the case because Bai then hits it onto the roof of the net in the 21st minute before Hio curls it high from close as New England have woke up and they were pressing for the equalizer. And they get it in the 33rd minute. It's Bobby Wood. He scored here to tie the game up at 1 apiece. I mean, Bobby Wood is just red hot right now. He's been scoring a lot of goals in the last couple of games. And then in the 40th minute, it looked like New England turned this game on its head as Gustavo Bo would score a lovely back heel goal. And unfortunately, I would say that this would be goal of the week contention if the flag didn't come up. The flag did came up in this one. It was disallowed for offside, and rightfully so. I mean, it was a correct offside decision, but yeah, it's kind of a shame seeing such a lovely goal that there scored by Gustavo Bo. Again, another guy that is in red hot form right now. Get taking off the board. In the 44th minute, Heel would curls it wide in the 44th minute as the momentum was all with New England. Like they were pressing to try to get that second goal. TFC was looking like they were on the ropes. They're trying to hold on to this tie as we head to halftime. And the good news is they were able to do so. The bad news is we still had a second half to play, and things kind of didn't go so well for TFC, at least in the beginning of the second half. Heel would then pulls it just wide from long range in the 49th minute as New England immediately were on the front foot and pressed for the lead. And this time they do get it. In the 51st minute, it's Veroni scoring from Wood and Heel to make it 2-1 in favor of New England. And then Wood had a shot that was blocked from close range. And this is where you're just thinking, well, this could get ugly for TFC because New England is start to get themselves in a rhythm and they could potentially get another one very soon. But then this is where the game turned because in the 57th minute, Petrovic would deny Insigne from long range, and then he had to palm Marshall Ruddy shot away from close range in the 58th minute. And then he had to rob Marshall Ruddy on a shot that was redirected in the 72nd minute. And all of a sudden, TFC was showing life. And again, this is something we have not seen from this team very often, where this is a team that always tends to fizzle out by the time the 60th minute hit. But this time, they actually show some life, and they were really pressing to get the equalizer. In fact, they thought they got it in the 89th minute when Insigne puts it into the back of net. The only problem was flag did not agree with him. The goal was disallowed for offside in the 89th minute. But there was no doubt the refs are on the ropes. Like this was not what they expected. I'm pretty sure this is exactly what Bruce Arena was mentioning in the press conference of how he was not happy how the team just decided to let TFC back into this game and really push to try to get that tying goal. And then in the third minute stoppage time, Insigne trying to score again this time, not because of offside, but he hits one right to Petrovic in the third minute of stoppage time. And yeah, in the end, New England, they hold on to win 2-1 in this one. But the shots in this one, TFC actually had 14 shots compared to 12 that New England has. But get this, 10 shots on goal compared to 2 that New England has. I mean, it's safe to say that Petrovic kind of stole this one for New England because, yeah, TFC was very buzzing in front of goal and was just unlucky. The fact that they ran into probably the best goalkeeper in the league. Free shots off target for the 7 that New England has. Free shots that was blocked for the 1 that TFC had. And possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession. And I would also like to say that this is also a classic example of just a tale of a difference between a good team and a bad team. Like when you have a good team like New England, even if you're not playing at your best, you can still get away with resort. But if you're TFC, who has had a really bad season, bad team doesn't usually get those luck, and maybe sometimes ran into a good goalkeeper, and that's kind of the case for TFC in this one. Though I will say that if you're Toronto, there are definitely some optimism, and there are definitely some positive that again they didn't show quit in the latter part of this game like they have done so many times this season. But now the question is, can they carry that into the next game? Because it's one thing to actually show some fight back for once in a game, but can they do that for every game? Because if they can do it for every game, then the result will definitely show. But unfortunately, in this one, again, just ran into a good goalkeeper like Georgie Petrovic and come out with nothing out of this game. But that being said, I am now going to change boards and look at the last four games to finish off part one of the review for match week number 21. So moving on in the next game. So in this game between the Red Bulls versus Atlanta, I feel like this was a combination of the Red Bulls playing probably the best game, especially on the attack this season, and also Atlanta United probably playing one of the worst game this season. Now, early on, the first shot of the game did see Wiley puts one right to Cornell in the 5th minute of stoppage time, but really, for the first 30 minutes, not much really happened, and it's not a big surprise because, that's the case with Red Bulls game. Usually things are kind of a little bit slow in the first 20 or 30 minutes, but then in the 32nd minute, they score. It's Daniel Edelman scoring from Harper to make it 1-0 in favor of the Red Bulls, and that goal came off a throw-in. Yeah, when you see a goal that is conceded coming off of a throw-in, that's when you know it's probably not a good goal to concede, and Atlanta fans will be absolutely fuming about it, and they have every right to do so because that was just optional defending. Like the fact that they allow Harper to throw that one in, and the ball actually bounced on the ground, which is like a cardinal sins if you're defending. You should not let the ball bounce and from a long throw in because bad thing is going to happen. And Atlanta didn't get that memo, and Edelman basically punished him. It was a good goal too from the youngster Daniel Edelman, but just one that just absolutely woeful defending there from Atlanta United. And then just 13 minutes later, it gets worse because they would concede again. This time it's Castros Jr. scoring from Barlow and Edelman to make it 2-0 in favor of the Red Bulls. And this time it came off of a terrible giveaway. Or actually, it's not from the Red Bulls, but from Atlanta United. The Red Bulls can't concede or goal if they of course just score on it. Or actually, the Red Bulls can commit a terrible turnover. They just score on it. But yeah, it was just a terrible giveaway from Atlanta United, which again, that feels like it's a theme this season, and especially a theme in this game where there's just been some game where Atlanta United have just turning the ball all over and over again, and with which is real pains. And again, you could say that maybe that has a lot to do with the Red Bulls doing very well with the press. And I thought the Red Bulls press was very well, but some of these turnover from Atlanta was just unforced error and wasn't really because of the press. Though we do head to halftime with the Red Bulls leading 2-0, and in the second half, Cho did try to get one back for Atlanta, but he hits that one into the side netting. That was only the second shot for Atlanta, and their first since the 5th minute. So safe to say that they basically didn't show up after the 5th minute until the 61st. Yakimakis then hits one right to Cornell before Yakimakis also tried to go for a spectacular effort, but he missed that one wide in the 76th minute, and Atlanta finally woke up. Like they finally woke up. They were trying to push to get one back in this one, but it didn't happen because in the 78th minute, the Red Bulls would put this away. It's Frankie Amaya. He scored from Duncourt to give the Red Bulls a 3-0 lead. I think that's Duncourt's first career assist, so congratulations to that young kid. But yeah, for Frankie Amaya, that was probably the perfect scenario, and especially for Troy Lesnar. He just bought him in a couple of minutes ago, and he scored. Yeah, that's a definition of a super sub here. That made it 3-0. Duncan then looked for a fourth, but he missed one in the 80th minute before Cornell had to deny Barry from close in the 88th minute. And then in the 90th minute, the Red Bulls made it 4-0. It's Frankie Amaya. He scored this time from Fernandez, and guess what? This not only came off of a deflection, which, by the way, the first one that Amaya scored also came off of a deflection. So yeah, Amaya was definitely we're having the soccer god smiling on him in this game, but really, the second one that came off a deflection came from, guess what? A bad turnover. from Atlanta United. Again, it just feels like it's the theme of this season. There's just so many goals that Atlanta United has conceded has come because of that turnover, and in this one they were just punished over and over again by this ruthless Red Bulls team. As in the end, Red Bulls put up their best attacking display, scoring 4 goals in this one to win 4-0 against Atlanta. And the shots tells the story. 11 shots committed, just 5 that Atlanta has. 3 shots on goal committed, 5 that the Red Bulls had. 3 shots off target for the 2 that Atlanta has. No shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Red Bulls had. And possession-wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession that the Red Bulls has in this game. And I gotta say, Atlanta is in trouble again. Because, I mean, this was just in a game where you play against the Red Bulls, a team that has not had a good season so far, especially at home. The fact that they should have this kind of performance and this flat of a performance is really, really concerning. And now, not only to mention the fact that they actually have a really tough schedule coming up in these next couple of games, and I know they're still sitting in the playoff spot, but don't be surprised they could drop out of that. And that again, I would say that Gonzalo Pineda, there's going to be a lot of heat that he's going to be facing. And the same goes for Carlos Bocanegra too. I mean, I feel like for this summer transfer window for Atlanta, this is probably the biggest transfer window for Carlos Bocanegra, and probably a make or break transfer window for Carlos Bocanegra, because if he does not change what's going on with this team, which it's hard to believe that this team has so much talent, but they're just under achieving right now by a large margin. Yeah, I think Carlos Bocanegra could finally be shown by the door, and the Atlanta fan base have demanded that since probably last season. But I think Garv Lagerwey has no choice now because of how the results are clearly not showing with this team. But that being said, moving on in the next match. So remember how I said this could potentially be a trap game for the Union, and the Union got to be careful when they play against Inter Miami. Well, not only they heard that warning, but they kind of laughed that out loud because they end up just winning this one relatively big against Inter Miami. Though I will say this: when you actually watch this game, I don't think the scoreline kind of reflect the fact that Miami really played badly in this one. In fact, I thought, Miami, there were times that they show some promise, as crazy as that sound, but it just feels like every time they show some promise, the Union were clinical in terms of their finishing, and then every time when Miami once again shows some promise, the Union show their clinical finishing and score again. Because early on in the 4th minute, Pizarro would miss wide after a turnover from the Union. Yeah, Rodolfo Pizarro is still on this team. I mean, I'm pretty sure some Miami fans probably forgot that he's still on this team. I wonder if he probably would be forgotten once Messi does come to this team. Though in the 11th minute, Negri would miss it wide after a lightning counter attack from Miami. And again, it was a promising start for Miami. They were looking for the opening goal, but like what I said, every time when Miami looked promising, the Union quickly go on the other end and score one. And they score here in the 14th minute. It's Jacob Gillespie scoring from Wagner to give the Union a 1-0 lead. And that also came off of a set piece, which has been just a killer for Inter Miami in this season. I mean, Miami has conceded the most goal this season from the set piece and from the corner. That's now number 10 that they conceded, which is the most in MLS. Kamaski, though, tried to answer for Miami in the 21st minute, but he hits it high before Martinez would hit one right back or hits one right to Bandic in the 25th minute. And again, Miami was pushing again. We're looking for the equalizer, but like I said, every time they try to push for the equalizer, the Union go on the other way and they score. This time it's their former teammate Carranza. He scored here from Uru to make it 2-0 in favor of the Union. Now, I will respect Julian Carranza decided to not celebrate because it's against his former team. But yeah, again, that has to be killer for Inter Miami. Like they up to this point, they actually haven't played badly up to this point, but it's just the fact that the Union has 2 chances and both of them ends up in the back of the net. And would you believe that the third chance that they had, it also ends up in the back of the net. This time it's Leon Flock scoring from Bedoya and Gasnack to make it 3-0 in favor of the Union. And again, that was only the fourth shot of the game, but really that was kind of like the third good look that the Union has had, and all 3 of them was in the back of net. So yeah, the Union were leading 3-0. That has to be just just absolutely killer for Inter Miami. The fact that they haven't played badly and the scoreline says 3-0. But to give them credit, they did get one back in the 51st minute in the second half. It's Robert Taylor. He scored from Kamaski to make it 3-1 in favor of the Union, and it actually also took a deflection too, which again, with the luck that Inter Miami has had, I think they'll probably be thankful and they'll absolutely take it. The fact that they scored a goal off of the deflection, because as I mentioned, when you're a bad team, you sometimes don't get that luck that we see good teams does. Though in the 60th minute, McLean would miss wide from long range, but then in the 67th minute, he would clip the post from long range. So again, the Union came a whisker away for number 4. They were trying to restore their 3-goal lead as they press, and they do. As in the 68th minute, it's actually Ruiz that is credit for an own goal. Originally, it was given to Carranza, but I think on the second look, you can clearly see Ruiz. He was trying to clear that away, but just kind of misclear it. And he had to do it because Carranza was there. If he didn't clear that away, Carranza was gonna just easily tap it in for the fourth goal for the Union. But it didn't matter. That one, it unfortunately went into his own net. And yeah, that made it 4-1, and that would be the final score of this game. I didn't really write any notes for the last 20 minutes, but because really there was not much that happened in the last 20 minutes. It was just kind of like garbage time. The game was just kind of seeing out. But the shots in this one, 8 shots committed, 9 that Miami has. Both teams had 3 shots on goal, 5 shots off target for the 3 that Miami has. 3 shots that was ball committed, none that the Union has. And possession-wise, this is actually wrong. It's actually 70% possession compared to the 30% possession that the Union has had, because I wrote 60. That doesn't actually add up to 90%. But yeah, again, for Inter Miami, again, I don't think they play bad in this one, but unfortunately, they just weren't clinical. I mean, the Union was just super clinical in this game, probably the most clinical I've seen a team has done. I mean, they didn't really have a lot of chance, but they put 4 of them in the back of the net. But now moving on in the next match is Sporting KC and the Chicago Fire. And for Sporting KC, it looked like they are bad again. Because remember how they win the first 10 game without win, and then they gone on an incredible run where they become the best team in the month of May. And now in the last couple of games, it looked like they're back to where they were. The reason why they were like on par of being the worst team in MLS history to begin the season, because in this one, they lost this one. In fact, I actually wrote the wrong score here, or actually put the wrong team there. Sporting KC actually didn't win this one. I mean, only Sporting KC fans wish that they actually did, but nope. It's the Chicago Fire for the second week in a row, getting a 1-0 win. Or actually, no, I'm sorry. They get a 1-0 win in the last game. They actually got a 2-1 win on in the last game. But it's the second consecutive game that they got a road win, which is, again, I talk about the Chicago Fire, a team that has always found a way to lose games, and really, things have kind of gone weird. The fact that in the last 2 games, especially on the road, the Chicago Fire is able to pull out with all 3 points. Now, early on, Kamara would puts it wide from close before Navarro would puts one right to McIntosh. Gutierrez then puts it wide from close range, and just like Wednesday, it was a strong start for the Fire on the road as they were looking to get the opener, though unfortunately this time they weren't able to do so. Shari then had Sporting's first shot, but he hits it right to Brady before Brady had to deny Polito from long range. And then Tommy would puts it high from long range, and Sporting woke up. Like you can see, the Sporting KC side, they realized that yeah, they can't just let Chicago just kind of push them around early like they did, and that they got to take them seriously, because the Fire, there's been a couple of times that they look threatening, and this is kind of where I thought, well, this is where Sporting KC should be able to get that goal to take the lead, right? Well, in the 35th minute, Voltaire tried to do so, but he puts it wide in the near post. But then on the other end, McIntosh would deny Torres from close range, and then Kamara would puts it wide from close, and then Gutierrez also did the same thing. As all of a sudden, the Chicago Fire were putting some pressure right near the end of the half. So they started the first half strong, and they finished the first half strong. And the reward of that, heading into the second half, is an early goal. In the 47th minute, it's Fabian Herberts for the second week in a row, scoring the first goal for the Fire on the road. And this was due to the fact that Sporting KC did not clear their lines. Like the clearance was only half clear, and it falls right to Fabian Herberts. It was a great goal there and a great strike for Herberts there, but defending there from Sporting KC. You got to clear your lines there, and if you don't, you're going to get punished at time, and they did in this moment. Shari then looked for a response, but he missed wide from close before Gutierrez would hit one right to McIntosh. Kina then pulls it wide off of a deflection. As Sporting KC, I thought, started to take control of this game, and you kind of sense that the Fire, they were looking to just kind of bunker and try to see this game out, which most time that has not worked. And I'm pretty sure if you're a Fire fan watching this up to this point, you're just wondering, well, the last game was kind of a fluke. This is where we're gonna eventually see Sporting KC get that equalizer, what right? Well, it kind of didn't happen because despite that Brady denying Johnny's from long range in the 85th minute, that was really the only good chance that Sporting KC had late in the game. They were dominating the game, but the attack has just been way too slow. It's way too stagnant. It was pretty easy for the Fire to defend, and as a result, the Fire for the second consecutive game on the road pull off a victory. Again, that's something that it's like once in every blue moon that has happened, but that's what we have, and that again, it feels like the Chicago Fire is doing their usual thing, trying to give their fans hopes once again that maybe everything might be not be lost, which I'm pretty sure every Chicago Fire fans will remind you that I'm not buying into that. But the shots in this one, 13 shots per the 12 that Sporting KC had, 5 shots on goal per the 4 that Chicago had, 7 shots off target per the 4 that Sporting KC had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Fire has, and possession-wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession that Sporting KC had. Actually, you know what? I think I actually reversed that because there was no way Sporting KC only had 34% possession. Yeah, I think I reversed that. So, you know what I just said about the stats? Just pretend I basically said the opposite with this. Actually, you know what? I might as well just go over again. 13 shots per the 12 that the Fire has, 5 shots on goal per the 4 that Sporting KC had, 7 shots off target per the 4 that the Fire has, 3 shots that was blocked per the 2 that Sporting KC had, and possession-wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession that the Fire has. And like I said, for Sporting KC, it's gone bad again. And this is where once again I'm gonna say what I said when they were near the end of that 10 game winless run. This should not be happening right now with the way that they're getting most of their attacking pieces back, and that there's definitely something wrong with this team, and it's kind of incredible the fact that a couple weeks they were on such a good form, and now all of a sudden they have gone bad again. I guess maybe this is a team that just ride on confident. When things are going well, things are going well, but when things are not going well, oh boy, you better believe things are definitely not going well. And right now, Sporting KC, they need a game like they did against Seattle. They need to somehow snap out of this, because the longer this goes, this could be very similar to what we see in the first 10 games, where not only they're already dropping down in the standings, but it's not going to be easy to try to come back above. Though again, I say that, but you look at the Western Conference, and I think I'm going to also do a video talk about the Western Conference, how the old saying, the Wild Wild West. It feels like it's that way this season. I mean, the Western Conference, it is just wide open, and there's just so much question right now, I have to say, about the West, of how there's literally nobody dominating in the Western Conference right now. But that being said, moving on into the last game on this board, and the last game in part one of this review is Austin and Houston. So for the second consecutive game where Austin play against a Texas team, they were able to win 3-0 against that Texas team. They did it to Dallas. Now they did it to the Houston Dynamo. Early on, Treyusi with the first shot of the game, but he puts it high from long range. Not much really happened in this game also, as the shot were only 1-0 for Austin, and that one shot was the Treyusi shot in the 8th minute in this Copa Tijas. But then in the 22nd minute, Austin would take the lead. It's Ethan Finley that gets the goal here to make it 1-0 in favor of Austin. Now, there was a question whether or not if it was offside, and I think the reason why this is not offside is because when the ball was delivered in, it actually hits a Houston player instead of Jerzy Zardes. So, I gotta say, it was very, very close. And I think, in the end, I would think it was just too close that even if they go to VAR, they probably is not going to overturn it. So, yeah, the goal, of course, was given. And then 10 minutes later, Zardes would get on the score sheet, as he scored here from Treyusi and Fagundes. And again, Jerzy Zardes, this feels like he's your typical number 9, where when you're a number 9, you feed on confident. And right now, Jerzy Zardes clearly has a lot of confidence, and he's banging the goal for Austin, which is exactly what Austin needed. And yeah, that gives the lead for Los Verdes to 2-0. Herrera did try to look for a response for the Dynamo, but his shot was deflected wide, and that was actually the first shot for Houston. I mean, it was a very flat performance coming out of the gate for this Dynamo team. Bear then puts it wide from long range in the first minute of stoppage time, and we head to halftime with Austin leading 2-0. In the second half, Driussi would hit one right to Clark as I thought Austin once again on the front foot looking for that third goal, and they do. In the 50th minute, it's Julio Cascante. He scored here from Pereira and Gallagher to make it 3-0 in favor of Austin. It was terrible defending from the Dynamo there. I mean, Julio Cascante was just wide open there. Like you cannot leave a player wide open there in the box and expect it to not concede. And yeah, again, that made it 3-0 for Austin. And then I thought Clark got bailed out here because he tried to be cute here, trying to dribble past Zardes and almost gave the ball right to Zardes. Now, fortunately, there was a foul call on Zardes. But yeah, Clark absolutely got bailed out because of it. And I mean, why would you do that when you're 3-0 down? And I think that probably is a question of every Dynamo fans that was still watching this game because you're 3-0 down. You should not be dribbling out of the back and trying to be too cute there. I mean, imagine if that one imagine if Clark actually did get that away and Zardes puts it in for the easiest goal. I mean, Austin fans will be absolutely livid. Almost at the or not Austin fans, but Houston fans will be absolutely livid to a point where some even question Steve Clark is the right man for the job. In the 70th minute, Zardes would then heads it into the side netting before Herrera heads it high or heads it right to Stuvert. Franco then puts it wide in the 74th minute as Houston finally has got into the Copa Tijas, but you just feel like it was too little too late. Dorsey then blasted wide from long range. It was really more just for pride rather than them potentially get themselves back in the game. And then Oferson would pose it wide from close, and then Stuvert would deny Seba Ferreira in the second minute of stoppage time. And while this game was kind of already set, I mean, we know Austin is going to win this game. Brad Stuvert, he was not done this game. Like, he is determined to try to keep this game to be a 3-0 game and get his clean sheet. In fact, he would deny Overson from long range in the 5th minute of stoppage time. And yeah, in the end, Austin, despite the fact that they definitely put their foot off the gas in the last 10 minutes, they were still able to get the clean sheet and for the second consecutive game, getting a 3-0 win over their Texas rival. Shots in this one, 10 shots apiece, 4 shots on goal for the 3 that the Dynamo has. Again, most of the shots from the Dynamo came in the second half, and the shots really even out when you saw Austin kind of started to put their foot off their gas. 3 shots on goal compared to the 5 that Houston has. 2 shots as well compared to the 3 that Austin has. 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that the Dynamo has in this game. And again, for Los Verdes, things are starting to go well again for this team. And I think this is really one of the first time where I could say that Austin is starting to play up to their potential and started to look like the Austin of last season, being very dynamic on the attack. But for the Houston Dynamo, again, this has been a team that I think them, along with a couple of teams like RSL or even the San Jose Earthquakes, they're a team that is just probably one of the most bipolar team in the league. Where this team has always looked good when they play at home. Then when they're on the road, that is a complete different story. Though I will say that this maybe is a little bit more surprising, consider I thought the Dynamo has been playing really well in the last couple of games. In fact, I think they were coming into this game with a 4-game winning streak. Yeah, that came to an end in a big way, in that this was just a huge fall from Cloud 9 for this Dynamo team that's just been playing so well, but just look like they look like the Houston Dynamo team that we've seen in the past couple of seasons, a regular bottom feeder in the West in this one against Austin. There you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of these 8 games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these 8 games? And tomorrow, I, of course, will talk about the remaining 6 games, which, unfortunately, I have to mention one certain team that did a very typical thing on the road, and then my other team suffer their first loss at home and put pretty much no more team in the Western Conference to not suffer their first loss at home this season. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this video and also these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.